Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today is an exciting video. We're getting close to the end of this. Thank God, I've been doing it for like a year and a half. My little series of showing you what is in my collection so you get to see my style, what I go for, what I have in my collection. If there's anything in my collection that you see that you're like, oh my God, do a video on that please, or I want to see that used in a video, then this is where you want to be. So we are starting the palettes. I already started like my single shadows on my like make your own palettes, build your own palettes kind of thing. But this is going to be palettes, like curated palettes, the ones that are already made, the ones that I buy, the ones that I use in most of my videos, if not almost all of my videos. These are going to be my smaller palettes. So I'm not really going by brand. I'm not really going that way because I have so many miscellaneous kind of things as well. So this is basically any palette that has 9 shadows or less. Does that make sense? So a 9 pan or less, and that's the size we're going for. So some of them aren't like small little palettes. Some of them are big palettes, but they have less shadows in it. That's the way I kind of wanted to do it. And then in my next video, I'm going to be doing the bigger palettes, which is going to be 10 palettes or 10 shadows or more. And that's the way we're going to do it. Does that make sense? Are we on board? That's the way we're doing it. So I've already filmed like the two parts already. I'm filming like intros and outros of this right now. So in my next one, you'll see this same face and I'll probably say the same kind of thing. So yeah, that's what we're going to get into. I didn't really swatch a lot of things. I don't even think I swatched anything from what I can remember. But you get to see them all. You get to see what I have. A lot of them you've already seen. And if you want to see any of them, you can just search them on my YouTube channel and find them if I've done videos on them. Yeah, that's basically what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be going through everything, showing every palette that I have, and you just get to see a little bit up close of what's in my collection. Before we get into the actual video, this look is filmed. I just filmed it, and it will be live on my channel soon, depending on when this video is going up, or it's already up on my channel, I'm not sure. So go hit subscribe down below to see that coming up. And also my Instagram is linked down below where I'll be posting all the up close pictures of this look and any looks I do using any of the palettes in this video as well. Before I ramble anymore, because this is going to be a long video, let's get into the actual palette video. Hello and welcome to part 1 of my palettes. So I just have them all piled out here so you can get a little bit of a background to see where we're going to start. I'm going to start with like some miscellaneous ones that aren't like multiple things from a brand. Then we'll go with like the smaller brands, build up to the more exciting brands, or what I consider the more exciting brands anyway. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get started. These are all like miscellaneous kind of random brands that I have one palette from, and brands that like don't really have a brand, like this one for instance. This one was from Boots. It was just part of like a Christmas range where they had like a Harry Potter kind of collection. So they had a palette for each house. I am a Slytherin, proud Slytherin over here. Always identified as a Hufflepuff, always thought I was a Hufflepuff. Got Slytherin on my Pottermore quiz, was kind of upset about it because I thought I was a Hufflepuff, and then I was like, no, I'm still a Hufflepuff. So some people still think I'm a Hufflepuff because I didn't redo the quiz. Then I redid it twice more, still a Slytherin. So I'm a proud Slytherin now. But that's him there. As you can see, it was £12.50, which was about €15. And this is the inside. So you've got the traits of being a Slytherin, so ambition, pride and cunning. And these are the shades here. This is such a pretty little palette. I've used it like once or twice. I don't use it that often. I obviously don't use it on camera because you can't get it and it's not a brand or anything like that. They're all kind of satins apart from the matte black. That's it. The rest are kind of shimmers. I just think the tones are really nice. I love this silver and these greens obviously as well. I just think it's a nice little cohesive palette for such a random thing. I think it's beautiful. Next up then is another kind of random one. This is from number 7. I love the packaging on this though, and this I also have a face kit which I would have shown in my face palettes, but this is the eyeshadow palette. Now this is not hugely functional for me, only because the shimmers are all beautiful, but there's one matte and it's basically my skin color, which is not functional as an actual eyeshadow look, but they're great like little toppers, shimmers, that kind of thing. I think it's really, really pretty just to have. Again, not something I'm going to use. I need to clean that brush. That brush has been used. I forgot there was a brush in here and I just left it there. But yeah, it's a nice kind of addition to things, or if I just want to throw something on really quick, or if I'm going to work and just want to throw something on, it's a nice little palette to have, so I'll always kind of keep it. And then we have this guy here, which is a very old one. Let me know if you know this or have this. So Tanya Burr, who's one of the biggest YouTubers on YouTube around the time when all the UK YouTubers were like huge, and she had her own makeup line, Tanya Burr Cosmetics, and my friend got me, because I used to watch her videos all the time, She doesn't really make videos anymore. My friend got me her kind of set. It was like a gift set for Christmas. So I had this, I had a cheek palette, which you would have seen, eye pencils, lipsticks, that kind of thing in it. And this is a little palette. It's called Too Tempting Eyeshadow Collection. They're all satins, every one of them. Oh no, I think this one's actually a matte here, and this one's a matte, but the rest are kind of satiny kind of. Oh, that one's a matte as well. So there's three satins, three mattes. Sorry, but it's just very neutral, kind of taupey, cool tones. I like it. I do really like it. Like they work really well. The shadows work nice. They're not the best formula in the whole world, but they do work nice. So yeah, it's something that I kind of keep because it's a memory of like YouTubers past. She's not passed away, by the way. She just doesn't make videos anymore. And then I have this guy, which I bought last year. This is the Joker palette from Revolution, and I bought this for one main reason. That's the packaging. I love this, and the Joker is one of my favorite villains of all time. I have kept this because it has all the shade names on it, the little film here, you can kind of see them there, just so I know what shades they are. I haven't used this yet. I've only swatched it. There's 3 shimmers, 2 of which I just feel like this could have been a much better palette, like cohesively. So one of these, maybe a shimmery green, would have been quite cool. Keep the matte green, but like change, like I don't think we needed a silver metallic and then a dark gunmetal metallic. This is kind of redundant as well, so maybe a red shimmer and a green shimmer, and then it would have been perfect. I love the colours that are in it, and I love that there's like an imprint of the Joker's face, and I think that's very cute. But I mostly kind of got it for the packaging and to have a Joker palette, which I don't recommend, by the way, just buying things for the sake of packaging, but I'm a sucker for that, so I sometimes do it. Not all the time, just sometimes. And then we have this baby. Do you remember? Well, Makeup Geek has only recently kind of gone out of kind of production, business, I don't know what way you would say it, but this is, what is this called? Stroke of Midnight. That's the name of this palette here. It was one of the Christmas collections. My boyfriend actually got me this for Christmas. I specifically asked for, because like this is the perfect glam palette for me. Like this is the perfect eyeshadow palette for me to get a little bit glam. You've got like a duochrome here and here. This kind of goes from like a white to like a peach. This one is your like typical blue brown kind of green pigment, like the one from MAC. You've got 2 shimmer greens, one light and one dark kind of olivey shade, this gorgeous rosy gold, and then 3 mattes, a cool tone brown, a warm tone brown, a burgundy, and a really dark almost black brown. Like perfect. This is perfect for me. This is a perfect little palette. I've used this so much. I've brought this away on holidays with me because it's just a perfect little palette. It's perfect. How many times am I going to say perfect? But it's perfect. And the Makeup Geek eyeshadows are still phenomenal, by the way. So next up, I'm going to try and not blind you with this guy here. This is the LA Splash. This is the, what's it called? Is it the Magic? I think it's called the Magic eyeshadow palette. I got this, where did I got this in a glossy box actually. That's what it was. But I do like the LA Splash formula. Well, I've only used matte shades from them, but I do like that formula. And this is the inner packaging here. It's very pretty, but I'm pretty sure it's called the Magic palette, and it's just neutral. I haven't used it yet, but it's a half matte. Oops. It's a half matte, half shimmer neutral palette. Again, I don't like when this one is matte. I'd rather that be a shimmer, but I love these shimmers. I love that there's a matte black in it, and I like that there's like a kind of cooler toned brown. There's like a really warm, almost orangey one. I would have liked if this one was maybe a bit cooler and tiny bit darker, like a lighter version of this one, and then have this as a shimmer. I think that would have been perfect. But as a little neutral palette, I think it's very cute. I will use it at some point. I might use it on like my Instagram or something like that. Then we've got this guy, which is actually gifted to me by my old manager in work. She has an abundance and a serious obsession with P. Louise. And we were having like a really hard time in work, like with like not enough staff, and me and her had a really difficult day, and she brought this in for me to like say thanks to me for like being reliable that day. But this is, what is this one called? The Stack 'em Up palette, I think. What's your favorite position? I don't know. Anyway, it's the purple one. It's lots of purples. I haven't actually worn this yet. I've only really swatched it, but I love the tones in this. I love that there's like a violet-y kind of colours, like violet and lavender, and then your more pinky magenta purples in here, and this dark purple is just everything. I love a purple like this. 2 shimmers, one that kind of leans, this one kind of leans a little bit more kind of blue tone, this one needs a bit more pink tone, so it goes really well together. Quite monochromatic, so you'll only really, obviously you're only going to get purple looks out of it, but with the two different tones, I think you can make it work a little bit and get a few more interesting looks, but I think it's very cute. Can you tell that I'm leaving this one for last because it's very special, but I'm going to get to it in a second. This is the Pastel Goth from KVD Beauty. It's the old branding from when it was Kat Von D, but that's when I bought it. It was years ago. I don't use this on camera because I don't really have a need for it, and I don't think they still make it. I just thought the Pastel Goth was a really cool idea, that it was pastel but like muted, if that makes sense. I know pastels are already kind of muted because they're kind of washed out colours, but I don't know, there's something really interesting about Pastel Goth. I love the packaging as well, like that kind of slimy look, but the inside I love this kind of grey. This green is beautiful. Yeah, I just think it's very fun. It's something that I pull out whenever I need like a matte pastel shade that's not going to go too wishy-washy on the eye or anything like that. And then this baby, this is actually a sneak peek for you guys depending on when I'm uploading this. If I'm uploading it before December, which hopefully I will, this will be coming up as a Christmas palette for this year. This is the Silent Night palette from Shroud Cosmetics. The packaging is beautiful. It looks like a Christmas garland or Christmas tree, and wait until you see the inside. I'm sorry, can you see them shimmers shifting in the sun? Oh my goodness, it's not the sun, it's my own lights, but still it feels like the sun in here. Look at this, like seriously, look at that shade Baubles. And I actually accidentally bought this twice. I bought a single shadow of Baubles, not remembering that it was in this palette. So I actually have two of those, so I might give that one away. But this is such a weird and interesting Christmas palette. You will see I do have the Give Me Glow Christmas palette. I like a Christmas themed palette. I like a themed palette around holiday season, or one of the holidays throughout the year, whether it's like Valentine's Day, Halloween, whatever it is. I like that kind of vibe, especially Christmas and Halloween though. And this is like such a weird kind of warm and cozy and then wintry sort of vibe to it. I love this dark blue. You've got a dark green, very warm and cozy on this end here. And the shimmers, I'm going to swatch some of these. The shimmers from Shroud are beautiful. Like you've got this, which is like a white into a gold, but like in the most sparkly wet looking way, like so shifty. And we'll swatch Baubles for you just because look at her, she is beautiful. She kind of goes from like a blue, icy blue, to like this green to a pink. Very beautiful and magical, and I'm already covered. This is actually the palette that I was swatching. So yeah, that's something to look forward to coming up soon. I'm so excited for this palette. I cannot wait to use it. I've had it since August. Sorry, no, I was gonna say last year, I don't know why. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to palettes where I have multiples. So these are brands that I have two palettes from of this size, or like less than 9 shadows, if that makes any sense. So these are the only ones that I have two of. The rest I have more than two. So let's start with Colourpop. So I've got two here. This one is also one that you haven't seen on my channel just yet, or maybe you have, I don't know which one I'm uploading. Oh, she's messy. Wow. This is the Making Mauves palette from Colourpop. I love the packaging on this. I think that's the most beautiful packaging ever. So cute. It's the perfect little mauvey palette. Now I would have probably ordered this, not this one. I would have ordered the Or Kid You Not if it was available when I was ordering, but it wasn't out yet because that's more my vibe in terms of purple mauvey kind of shades. This though at the time was perfect though. This again, I don't need something like this, but I love that there's this gorgeous deep colour here. We don't necessarily need both of these. I probably would have swapped them out with something a little bit more mauvey, more like this kind of colour here in a matte finish maybe, or even like a lighter kind of icy pinky kind of shade. You do have a Super Shock shadow here, which are the most shiny colours ever. But I love the little Colourpop palettes. I think they're so cute. I do want to get some more. I don't know which ones. So if you have any recommendations, let me know down below. I have this one, and let me show you the next one. So next one I've got the That's Top palette, or taupe. Also messy. Carla, seriously, clean your eyeshadows. So this is how this one looks here, and this is one of my favourite neutral palettes in my whole collection. Now this is quite light as well, but it's actually still a tiny bit darker than my skin, so I'm actually okay with this being here. You do have the most beautiful Super Shock shadow ever. Like, she's so metallic and beautiful. This goes dark. This dark brown is so beautiful. I do have another kind of taupe palette, which I'll show you. It's not as dark as this, and I actually prefer this one over the other one, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And the reason is because this one goes dark. It goes super cool tone like this one here, and just so many kind of metallics that go with all the tones in the palette. I just love it. I think it's so beautiful. One of my favorite palettes, and I love the packaging on this as well. It's so pretty. Next, we're going to move on to Beauty Bay. This one's a very random one. This I actually got as a gift of purchase. I got this free when I ordered a few bits. You do get stickers for it. It's called Tropic Like It's Hot, and this is the palette in here. I do not use this. I'll probably get rid of this. Not because it's bad, I just don't grab it. I never think to use anything like that. I do like the tone of this bronzer though, and this highlighter is fine as well. It's just not a palette I would use because I don't know if I'd get a lot of use out of it. It doesn't go dark enough for me for how bright these colours are. I need something a little bit darker in this palette. I know, I like the tones. I love this pink. This pink is very pretty. But like these kind of are a bit wishy-washy. These are fine. The mattes look fine, but I'd like it to be a bit darker, or all matte, or all shimmer if you're going to do it, and just have it as an accent palette then. It's definitely something I'm definitely not going to keep in my collection, but it's nice. It's nice. I just still have it because I haven't done my declutter yet. Then I have this guy here, which one of my best friends bought this for me. This is the Matte Bright 9 color palette, and it's just all matte bright eyeshadows. Now, I don't mind there being a matte white in this because the whole palette is matte. That's absolutely fine. I think the tones in this are beautiful. This pink is so interesting as well, and just how bright, like obviously it's the brights, but do you know what I mean, like how bright they actually are. Great to work with other things. Great if you want to use like pigments and you don't know what palette to use, you can kind of pull this out and use a few of the colours. They do have more of these palettes in different shades, like more neutrals as well, but this, obviously my friend knows me, knows I like my colour, and knows I like Beauty Bay as well. Then we have good old Melt. This is the Smoke Sessions palette. This is an all green in 2 different tones, so your more olivey golden greens with golds, and then your more emeraldy greens with some teals. My main gripe with this is I think there should be 2 more mattes in it. I think it should be slightly bigger and have, instead of 8 shades, 10 shades, have 2 more mattes. These tones, so this tone but lighter and this tone but lighter, just to give a bit of blending, because with Melt's formula you have to spend time blending it, and it does help when you've got a bit of a transition shade there going. The shimmers are everything. Like, oh my god, the shimmers in this palette are so beautiful, especially Mean Green. She's gorgeous, and I do love, I think it was Granddaddy as well. Love that as well. Love how dark the mattes go in this though, but I have no problem pulling out another palette to use like transition shades with this in the future. But when I'm doing like a 2 looks on palette, I try to only use this palette, or like if I'm doing a palette thing, I'm gonna only really try and use this. So it's kind of hard then to get it to work for me, but it does work. It's absolutely perfect formula. It's just for me and the way I do my makeup, I'd like just another one, this tone but lighter and this tone but lighter. That's all. Now, if we want to talk about perfect melt palettes, we're going to talk about She's and Parties. This palette is all stunning. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shimmers and 3 mattes. Now, I could argue we probably could do another matte in there. Maybe take out one of the shimmers, like maybe make this a matte but make it more a matte like this, like a rusty matte as opposed to a burgundy matte. This color here, Mean Streak, goes so dark. It's so rich and beautiful. This shade here, Caress, also goes really dark, darker than you think it's gonna go. And Total Immortal is just the most beautiful, like dusty blending shade, like dusty mauve kind of shade. The shade Strange Love is probably my most used shade in the palette, especially out of the shimmers. You just get a really gorgeous kind of Victorian style smoky eye out of it. Oh, it's so beautiful. Such a good palette. I'm so happy I bought this palette. Now we're on to Give Me Glow, and this is the other Christmas palette I was talking about. This is the Christmas Morning. I highly recommend this palette, and if you're looking for Christmas, this is your palette. It's red, it's green, it's gold, it's silver. What more do you want for Christmas? So you have got 4 mattes, 4 shimmers, so equal amount of each, and a matte to match each shimmer, I think, personally. I mean, maybe you can argue with this, but I think they go really well. I do. So you've got a green, and then you've got this shade here, which is Gifts Galore. Let me do a little. You only need a little. Look at that. Ain't she beautiful? She swatches so well too. Like, look at how that swatches there. And then you've got like the green to kind of go with that. Then you've got this gold. Like, seriously, if you just want to look like a Christmas bauble at Christmas, this is the way you want to go with how shiny this is. This silver is the best silver in my whole collection, I think. I'm pretty sure it still holds that title from everything. I'm not sure. I do kind of want to compare all my shadows together and see what I like best, what is going to hold as like the top. but I'm pretty sure that this one is the best. Between this one and one in a Kaleidos palette, I'll be between those two. But oh, look at her, she's so pretty. And the tone of this brown is so grey, and the name Chimney is perfect. It's like an ashy brown. Oh, it's so pretty. I love it. Go check out my, I think I did a 2 looks on palette. I definitely did a first impressions. Pretty sure I did a 2 looks on palette, so go check that out as well. Like, perfect. And then we have the grunge palette, and I really wanted this palette for so long, like so long. This outer packaging is so nostalgic for me. This is my style in everything, like music, rock music, the kind of like stuff you would have had in stickers all over your notebooks and everything like that, and your bags. This is exactly my kind of style. And this is the grunge palette. Oh my god, this is also dirty. Jesus, what just be happening in the drawer? So this is the grunge palette here. This goes dark. So you've got a black, you've got a super dark brown, which is gorgeous. You've got beautiful kind of like a deep aubergine and then a magenta sort of shade. You do have just 2 shimmers. I do love the tone of Bonehead. You probably could have done one more shimmer in here, but just the overall vibe of the palette. You have the names Teenage Dirtbag, Smells Like Teen Spirit, just like everything about it is so pretty. The shimmers in here are gorgeous. Well, usual Give Me Glow formula like the other palette, but I love this palette, and I am planning on getting, again depending on when this video goes up, but as it's going up it's not launched yet, the new Haunted Pumpkin, I think it's called, palette. Cannot wait for that. And then you've probably seen a little familiar face over there. We've got 2 Shroud and Betty Bean palettes that we're going to talk about. Let's talk about the first one that released, which is It's Freaking Bats, which is probably still my favourite out of the 2. The It's Freaking Bats is still, I would imagine, my number 1 palette out of my collection. If I was to rank everything, I'd still think this probably hits at number 1 because she's stunning. This goes so dark. You've got a mustardy, murky, kind of yellowy brown green. Well, it's more yellow green. You've got Handbook, a lime shimmery green. What more could I want in my life? Teal, this shade Grim. 2 duochromes. This shade Sam is so shiny as well. And you've got this random periwinkle, which has kind of put me into a periwinkle mood recently. But I just love how these go together. You can go so grungy, you can go quite bright, you can go quite like a wash of colour and pick a shimmer for the inner corner as well if you wanted to. I've done a little bit of everything on my 3 looks on palette and my first impressions. I've had so much fun with this. Definitely one of my favourite palettes. Well, definitely probably is my favourite palette in my whole collection. And Miss Halloween, which launched just at the beginning of October, I think it launched, or launched at the end of September. She's so pretty. This is described as Halloween but grunge, and this is her here. She is Halloween but grunge. She's got orange, she's got green, this kind of random navy purple. It's so weird. This shade Black Flame looks purple for you, but if I shift her, like from where I'm sitting, all I can see is like the greeny gold sort of shade. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Anyway, you'll see it in swatches if you will go with my first impressions. More of a mustardy shade. I'll just show you in comparison to It's Freaking Bats that they're not the same. This one is more kind of warm and the other one is more yellowy green. You've got the shade Wicked down here and Ghoulish, which is a duochrome, and this up here is also a multi-chrome, I think, as far as I can see. It goes from like a red copper into a gold into a bit of green as well, and just perfect. But if I pair them together, I think this is the ultimate spooky palette. You know what I mean? Because I can use this green with these greens. You've got the orange with kind of these shades here. You can use the more purpley shimmers with this shade Gassy, because I found in this palette this is kind of hard to pair with things, but with these I think it pairs really well, especially with like the periwinkle. I think that'd be so pretty as well. So I'm definitely in the future going to do like a combo of the 2, maybe a multi-palette bingo, maybe just a picking random shades and doing it, like coming up with a look myself and doing it. I don't know, I want to pair the 2 together and see what kind of look I can come up with. Okay, so we're making good time with this. We have a good few we have a lot of palettes still left to get through, but only a couple of brands. We've got MAC, Oden's Eye, Huda, Juvia's Place and Kaleidos. So only 5 brands, but a lot of palettes because I have an addiction and I have a problem. So we're going to end to MAC. These are all, one was limited edition and 3 of them have been discontinued, but I do have these. I don't know how long I'm going to keep them all. I'll probably keep this one though. This is the Feast Your Eyes palette. This came out like autumn last year, I think it is. This is a weird palette. I'm going to say this is weird, right? This Colour Story is everything you want out of an autumn palette. I know, I understand. Tell me about it. The shimmers in this palette, stunning, gorgeous, super sparkly, super metallic, especially, so these two are super metallic and these three are quite sparkly. The mattes in this are so weird. They're like cream, not cream to powder. They're like cream pressed. If that may, I don't know how to describe these. They're so strange. If you've ever tried the MAC paint pots, like Painterly, that's exactly what this kind of looks like. And it's that kind of texture when it's on where you could stick other things to it. So they're actually great to do like a wash of all over and then press one of the shimmers on top. That's kind of how I used it for the first while that I kind of had it. My only gripe with it is that this brown is not this dark. It's actually quite, oh, it kind of looks dark there, but when you swatch it, it's actually quite light and warm. I kind of wish it was this exact colour right there that you're seeing. I wish it was that colour right there. I do think it's a beautiful palette though. I do think I will keep it for a while anyway. The other three I'm probably going to get rid of though. You'll see these now. And the main reason I'll be getting rid of any of these is because I don't use them at all. Like I never ever reach for them, and I think someone else would use it. And I have a couple of friends who, when I do my declutter, they're probably the ones that are going to get first pick of my stuff. And these kind of palettes will suit them quite well. I think they'll be interested. So this is the Risk Taker. And this here, I have to keep the names and everything like that. So in these palettes, you get eyeshadows and a highlighter, which I would just use as a eyeshadow. But it's handy that you have a highlighter there. Jeez, I can't talk. So this is quite a grungy palette with a pop. So you've got like cooler tones here. This is like a matte with shimmer. Yeah, so like a matte with shimmer, a lot of shimmer though, so it's kind of a shimmer more so. You've got this gorgeous kind of foiled sort of sparkly shade here. This is a satin, I think this is a satin, and this is a satin. The rest are mattes. So a bit of an odd kind of mix of where your satins and mattes kind of lie, with like one of your darkest shades being a satin and then your lightest shade being a matte. To me that doesn't make any sense. But I think I know people who will be able to get use out of this, and I'd rather them have it than me have it. I'm not doing my declutter right now. I'm just telling you guys that these are probably not going to stay, but this is something that I do have in my collection right now. So when we do my declutter, you'll see me actually get rid of them. Next is the Smarty Pants. This is a lot warmer, more coppery sort of tones. You've got shimmers. This makes a bit more sense to me because you've got a dark matte, a kind of warm transition matte, and then, well, this again, I could do with a different matte in here, like a rusty sort of matte, like this kind of shade in a matte. The rest here though as shimmers, beautiful. And then you've got your highlight here. I think that's a beautiful palette. Then we've got Basic Bitch, this one here. And this is your really cool toned grungy sort of shade. This is probably my favorite Colour Story out of them because I love this. This is very gothic kind of style. Do love it. Again, I just don't use it. Like this is a great Colour Story for me. I just don't use it. I never gravitate towards it. I'd rather use my grunge palette. I'd rather use this if I'm going to go for these sort of shades, or a cool toned palette or something along those lines. I just never reach for this, so this is definitely going to go as well. As much as I do like the Colour Story, I just never use it. I can't just keep something for a Colour Story. And now we're on to Oden's Eye. So we're going to start here with my first ever Oden's Eye palette. I got this in their mystery box to try out the brand for the first time. Fell in love with the shadows and have since bought too many palettes. Too many, and I cannot be stopped. So this is the Alva 2 Mini Sky palette, and this is the kind of purple and gold here. It's, again, I would probably say not the palette I would pick if I was to pick out myself which first palette I was going to buy. I probably wouldn't pick this one. I do love it and I love the looks I got out of this. I wish this like metallic purple was more like this formula. This is a harder pressed kind of formula. I wish it was more like these shimmers. These shimmers are everything. These mattes are beautiful. They're both sequins, so where they're matte with a sparkle in them, but the sparkle kind of dusts away. I love the tone of this. It's like a terracotta sort of shade. I think that's beautiful, and this brown, stunning. There's only so much you're going to be able to do with 6 shades in a palette, so bear that in mind. And also bear in mind that they're only going to be able to do so much by making a 6-pan palette. But I do love it. I love the formula. I'll definitely be keeping it in the future. Again, not doing a declutter, I'm just saying. This one here you haven't seen yet because I haven't used it. I have so many palettes in here that I haven't used because they're coming up. I just don't have time. They are coming up though. So this is the Urde palette. I I think I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. Anyway, this is the palette. Oh my god, look at this. Remember I said how I'm a Slytherin? Are these not just Slytherin shades here for you now? So you've got these beautiful kind of light and a mid-tone. Oh, look at this olivey green. Oh, she's so pretty. And this beautiful light sage sort of colour. You've got Luxury here, which is the most gorgeous green metallic there. Then you've got this kind of white to a gold, and then this almost like silver into a bluey kind of shade. It just leans a tiny bit blue. I don't know why, especially in the light I'm sitting in anyway. And then you've got this super, super, super dark, so dark, kind of purple brown kind of colour. I just think this palette is stunning. I think this is going to work so well because this shade, because it has a bit of brown in it, will still work with the greens. And then like these shimmers, this is a perfect palette for such a small amount of shades. This is perfect. It's so beautiful. Now, as I said, I haven't used it yet, so I don't really know, but looking at it, it's perfect. This guy here, this is the Saga of Freya, Chapter 2, Cat with the Golden Carriage, Cat's Breath palette. What a name. But this here, I bought this. This is the one with the weirdest colour contrast. It's like teal and orange, but it's so weird that this works together and how excited I get when I do want to use this. Just the orange, the shimmers in this palette, this looks wet on the eye, like absolutely wet. This is the most sparkly kind of bluey white sort of shade. This is so weird, it's like marbled, and this one's kind of marbled as well. But this and this one down here, for some reason you can actually see the individual bits of like pink that's in it because it's marbled with pink. Like you can see those bits when they're on the eye. It's so weird, so beautiful though. The mattes in here are beautiful, nothing short of what we expect from Oden's Eye. I just think it's beautiful, and I do have more Oden's Eye palettes, just they're bigger palettes, so they're going to be in the next video. Okay, so we are on to Kaleidos, and I do have more Kaleidos. I have got one more, I think, but that's going to be in my next video. These are actually weirdly how I laid them out, which I didn't intend on doing, in order of how I bought them. So that's how we're going to go through them. Well, I didn't buy them. I bought this one. The rest were actually all presents. No, I bought this one and the rest were all presents from my boyfriend. So the first time I ever tried Kaleidos was for my birthday, and I asked my boyfriend for these three palettes here. These three babies here. These are, oh my god, they're some of my favourite palettes. So let's start. We're going to go for Kaleidos Futurism 3 Astro Pink. So before we start, let's just appreciate this packaging. She's look like, oh, look at that. I love the packaging on these. So this is like odd as well. So you've got two neutrals, you've got like two kind of lavendery purpley shades, and you've got two dark shades. This here kind of shifts from like a blue, you can see that there, to like a purpley sort of shade. So beautiful. This is a matte with sparkle in it, as well as a black, super black though. And then this one here is like the shiniest metallic silvery pink ever. These two mattes I find are a little bit odd with the black. I just think that you could have done with this to be a bit darker, or this to be darker, like way darker, something kind of in between. Something in between the black and these in some way I think would have made it better, because it can be a bit hard to blend this out. But blending this out with the purple, beautiful and stunning. Such beautiful looks out of this. Oh, I just love these little palettes. I do want Kaleidos to bring back their 6 pans. Well, they do still do them. I think this one is still in production, and these two, and I'm not sure what other ones are, but I want them to bring more out. I want them to bring them back, and I want more. Then we have this bad boy, which is the reason I got these 6 pan palettes. Some I think it was Angelica Neekfist did a video on these, showed these, and I was like, I must have those shimmers. This is the Vior Neon. This is the number 4. Gorgeous kind of denim looking packaging, like very like 90s denim sort of style. And this is the Bright palette. So you've got two shimmers here. You've got a shimmery orange, which is actually quite hard to find a shimmer orange that's not gold or doesn't lean gold. You've got the most gorgeous shimmery pink, also kind of hard to find a shimmery pink like this as well, that's this bright. And then look at these 4. Look at these. Look at these. I did some of my favourite looks with this, and this was actually the first palette I did a first impressions and then a 2 looks 1 palette on, like 2 separate videos where I set up a structure for myself with my palettes and not just using them at a whim for my channel. So I'm always have this like little thing on my heart with this, that this is the first time I really dedicated myself to like having a structure on my channel. My addiction has grown since then, so maybe it wasn't a good thing. Now I can't stop buying palettes that I want to make content on, so probably wasn't a good thing, but sure, look. Then this one here is probably my favorite of these 6 pans. This is the Cyber Bronze number 2. This one's not in production anymore, I don't think, and neither is the VR Neon. This one, oh, this just has my little heart as well. You have got 3 shimmers, 3 mattes, perfect. A light, medium, dark, perfect. 3 different shimmers, kind of more muted, a bright, and then this really pale. It's a silver. This is the other silver I was talking about. So this, like, you give me your verdict. What's the better silver out of this and the one from Give Me Glow, the Christmas morning? I don't know. I will do a comparison of them. I did a look with this in my 2 Looks on palette using this, the first look I think it was, and it was probably the prettiest I've ever felt in makeup. I'll never forget it. Between this and another palette I'm actually going to show you now as well, where I felt super pretty. But this is where I felt really pretty. Really pretty. And I used this with a little bit of this and this on the lid, and that was all. And I did a grey kind of lip. I think I did a bit of liner. I can't really remember. But if you want to see it, go back and check that out. It's just, oh my god, which way does this go? Yes. It's just the most beautiful neutral palette for me, where I like a bit of grunge, I like a bit of weird, and you have that red shimmer there. Oh, it's so beautiful. Then I have the Flower Punk, which is this guy here. Just took it out of the box. I have kept the box because I love the box off this. I try not to keep the boxes off things, but I do sometimes keep them for a while, and then I'm like, oh my god, I'm sick of it, now I'll get rid of it. But this is the Flower Punk palette, and I got this last year, I think, for my birthday. I want to say, was it last year? Oh, it feels like I got it longer. No, it was 2021. It was definitely 2021 because I didn't have it in 2020. 2021 birthday, I got it off my boyfriend. Look at the packaging on this. This is so pretty, and this is what she looks like on the inside. Now this one always gets messy because I feel like this goldy green sort of shimmer is overpacked a little bit, but it's fine. That's fine. It means more products. But this is so beautiful. You have got these gorgeous greens here. So beautiful. This stunning. This shimmer, everything, and this dark here. I like this as well, but these three are my most beautiful. You've got 3 pinks, and they're very muted. Like this is quite a muted dark pink, and then you've got a lighter pink, and then you've got this gorgeous shimmer. You've got these blues here, but the blue can be deepened up with this because I've tried it in my 2 Looks on palette. So just all of it. We love all of it. I love it. And since I've been mentioning loads of my 2 Looks on palettes or first impressions or whatever it is, if you are curious about any of these palettes, search them on my channel and you'll find any videos that I've done with them, whether it be palette bingos or anything like that. They'll all be there. If it's not there, it's because I haven't done a video of it yet, and if you do want to see a video of it, leave me a comment on this video and I will get to it eventually. Look, I'm deciding now, right now, in this moment, you're witnessing it, but I'm getting rid of the boxes of these 2 because it's actually starting to annoy me now. Okay, so these 2 are my most recent ones from Kaleidos. So I have this guy here, which I bought myself. It's the only one I've ever bought for myself. I can't remember when I got it. Did I get it like Black Friday? Possibly. This is such a gorgeous neutral palette. Oh my god, like so beautiful. You've got a slightly warmer side and then a cooler, I say cooler, like a more yellow tone side. Just, oh, and the shimmers in this palette are so beautiful. The matte, I just think it's perfect little, like this and this. You maybe didn't need both browns, but this is a warmer brown, this is a slightly cooler brown. Oh, so pretty. Like if I'm gonna go neutral, I do like something like this where it is the pretty version of neutral, but also there's a bit weird in it because shimmers like shift so much in this palette as well. So stunning. Love this little palette. Great one to pull out every now and again for just when I need a neutral look and I want something nice and quick. It's a real easy palette to use. And then we've got Lunar Lavender, which I have just recently, not too long ago, a couple months ago, posted my videos of this. This is such a beautiful palette. I did find when I first got it, I was like, oh, these neutrals are probably going to be quite hard with such colourful colours in here, but they actually work really well. This leans quite pinky brown for some reason. Same with this, can be blended with this to get a pinky brown, which I think then works with everything. These shimmers are so beautiful. I probably prefer the shimmers in the Sashimi City though, but I love the shimmers in this as well. I think it's such a pretty little lavender palette. It's gorgeous. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some Huda. I have a lot, as you can see. I had 10, I now have 11 because I've added this one to the collection, and I have ranked all these as well if you want to see that video. And I think I've done a 2 looks on palette with all of them, not first impressions, but I've definitely done 2 looks on palettes with all of these, apart from him because he's not been done just yet. So let's start with the originals. These are the original Obsessions palettes that Huda came out with. I love the idea of these Obsessions palettes because I think they're so handy for travel. I just think the little curated colour stories are beautiful in them as well, especially when you get to the more kind of out there sort of colour stories. So we'll start here. This is the Gemstone, and this is an all shimmer palette. This is a great palette if you want some interesting shimmers, don't want to splash out, but want some interesting shimmers, because there is beautiful duochromes in here as well. It can be paired with any of the palettes here, and it can be paired with any shadows you have. If you have blues, if you've got greens, if you've got purples, if you've got coppers, browns, neutrals, whatever it is, but you want something a bit interesting to go with it, I think this is so pretty. I don't use it that often because I don't always pull out a all shimmer palette, but I do love, I love it. I love the shimmers in it. Then we've got probably my favourite, still probably my favourite, apart from, I haven't tried this yet, so we haven't found out if this one's beat it yet, but nothing has beat this one yet. This is the Smoky Obsessions, and this is probably the reason I bought these palettes in the first place. Seeing this little palette here just made my heart melt because of this black. You've got this silver, you've got, some of the shimmers look very similar to each other even when they're on as well, so I probably would have swapped out 1 or 2 of them. Same with these 2 mattes here, I probably would have made one it's a little bit lighter, maybe this one tiny bit lighter, keep this one this dark, just so you have something kind of in between these 2, and maybe change out one of the shimmers a little bit. But I just think it's so pretty because you've got gold to go with these, and then you've got silver to go with these, and the black, beautiful. Then we've got probably my most used, which is weird because the other one is my favorite, but this is probably my most used because the tones in some of these shades I use so much, especially this middle shade. And if I want a burnt orange, this is the one I always gravitate towards. There's only 2 shimmers in this palette, so there's not usually like a structure of how many shimmers, how many mattes. It's usually just kind of whatever goes here. This is the Coral Obsession, so you've got your more warmer tones, this gorgeous yellow, and then this kind of yellowy orange, and then you've got your shimmers. But this brown in here I think is so beautiful, goes with so much. I probably would have like swapped this with the neutral brown that's in, or the light neutral that's in the Smoky Obsessions, but what can we do? I have both, so I can just use both. And then we've got the Electric Obsessions. Obviously I'm going to go for this. This is the colourful one. This has got 3 shimmers and the rest are matte. I really like this palette. I don't use it too often because I kind of need to, when I'm going this bright, I like to pair with other things. So I like to have like another kind of greeny sort of shade. I like to have something a little bit darker. Just whatever it is, I kind of use it with that. But I would pair it with something like the smoky one because it has the black in it, and I can pair it with that. But I do really like it still. Then after those ones, we got the Gemstone Obsessions. So let's go through these. These are inspired by different gemstones. I think there's also amethyst and topaz, which I don't have. Oh, also in these ones, I didn't get the mauve one, and the warm browns was the other one in the regular ones that I don't have. In this one here, I don't have the topaz or the amethyst, even though the topaz does really interest me. But anyway, I do have the ruby, and this is the ruby here. Now, I could do without this. I could, and maybe make that a shimmer, like a light pinky shimmer. But I love this. I just don't like this shade in here because it's very hard pressed. It almost looks matte, but it's actually a shimmer. I love these, but I do think we could have done with a darker matte. So maybe make this a shimmer and then make this a matte here, and then keep the rest all the same. So make it like a even darker than this burgundy, like almost black kind of shade. That's what I would have done with that palette. Then we've got the Sapphire, which I adore, and I love it mostly for the reason it's just this random lime green kind of shade here, like a pastel lime sort of shade here. This shade in the middle here is like almost black with like this gorgeous blue metallic through it, and I love this shade here. Is so weird. It's like silver with blue sparkles. Just love how vibrant these colours are. These blues are stunning as well. I love how vibrant these palettes are, and I think they work really well, especially if you're not into using a whole lot of colour. They're just handy to have if you do want that little bit of colour every now and again. Then we've got the Emerald Obsessions, which is probably my favourite because for me it's probably, well, no, actually it's probably not the most cohesive because I could also do a darker shade in this. But I just think you've got like your emerald sort of tones, and you've got your olivey tones here. Like I would have liked this one here to be a matte green, darker than this. And I love this. This is so sparkly up here. It's just so shimmery and sparkly, and I love it. I'll leave the Wilds to last just because I haven't used it yet. So then we're going to get into the Neon Obsessions, and this is the Orange Obsessions. This is my favourite one of the neons because of I just love the contrast in this. So you've got like these gorgeous like yellowy shades, this another kind of limey pastel green, and then you've got like pinks and purples, and then you've got orange as well. And I just love how there's that bit of contrast with the pinks, purples, and all that kind of stuff. Now, it's not a fully orange neon palette. That's fine though. I think it's just quite interesting. I love the little colour story in this one. Then we've got the neon greens, which is probably my least favourite palette of all of them, because although I like the like contrast and the having the different shades in the neon orange, there's just not enough green in this. Like, there needs to be more greens. At least needs to be 2 more greens in this for me to say that this is more of a green palette. Like, there's enough orange in the other one to say it's an orange palette. There's just very random, like this random bluey kind of duochrome. I don't get where I'm going to use that with the rest of the shades, especially if I only had this palette. These I love. I do love the shades that's in it. I just, as a palette itself, I don't think it's quite usable on its own. It has to be paired with others. Then we've got the neon pinks, and this I love as well because it's pink and purple. I did a super fun two-toned, like a one with just like pink on the eye and then one with just purple on the eye, and it looked really, really cool to have like the 2 colours that were as bright as each other but different. So everyone was kind of like, have you got 2 colours on your eyes? I was like, yeah, I do. Love the shimmers. I think it's beautiful. So you have like your kind of shimmers that go with your matte purples, and then your shimmers that go with your matte pinks. It kind of leans a little bit coral as well, which I like as well, to bring a bit of warmth. And then we've got the wild. So these are the wild palettes. There was like the Python, Jaguar, which is this one, Tiger, and something else, and I can't think of what the other one was. Let me know down below, and I just can't think of what the other one was. But I got the Jaguar obviously because look how dark it is. You've got this, which is it looks to me like a black but could be like a really dark charcoal. I'd probably maybe put another matte in that's not this one, like a separate matte to this one. Something along the lines of maybe this colour in a matte, or I don't know, I'm not sure. Just something else just to have an extra matte in there that wasn't this, because I'm probably not going to use this one that much. So I only really have 3 mattes in here. But there's different textures in this. Like this one in the middle is more like a really sparkly kind of shade. Some of the rest are more metallic. So there's a few more interesting textures in here, but I just loved how dark and murky and grungy this was. I think it was beautiful. And I cannot wait to do, I'm going to do a first impressions and I'm going to do a 2 looks 1 palette with this. Okay, so we're going to get into some Juvia's Place. This is our last brand, our last set of palettes that we're going to do for this video. As I said, I'm going to be doing a part 2 with all the bigger, more shadow kind of palettes. So let's get into Juvia's Place. We're going to start off with our little 6 pans here, our mini palettes. And this is the chocolates. This is my favorite mini palette from them. One of my favorite palettes from them as well. This is also dirty. There seems to be a theme going on here. This is the palette I was talking about when I was saying that the Cyber Bronze from Kaleidos made me feel really pretty. This made me feel really pretty as well. The smoky eye I did in my first impressions with this palette was, oh my god, it was so pretty. I used this shade, this, and I think this as well. Something along those lines, but I felt so pretty in that kind of look here. It goes so dark. You definitely don't need 2 dark browns in it. I think I maybe would have swapped one of them out with a light shimmer, or even just like a lighter matte that's like more of a lighter version of this, maybe something along those kind of lines. But that's what I would probably do with that. But the shimmers in this are so beautiful. I love this little palette, and these are such handy like little palettes because they're so small. Next up then is the Sweet Pinks, which is our super bright neon pinks. If you want bright Barbie pinks, this is your palette. You get 3 shimmers. This one here is like bright neon. This is kind of leans a little bit more coral, and this is more neutral. You've got 2 corals here, this more neon, and then this is more muted, and then you've got this gorgeous magenta as well. It's not a hugely dark palette. Like I probably would add another shade for a little bit of depth just because that's how I like my makeup to look, but as a palette I think it's so beautiful. Then we've got the Mauves palette, which I probably prefer over this, between this and the Sweet Pinks. I like this because this does go a little bit dark, but pair the 2 together and you've got a little dream pink palette, because this still goes pink but more muted, and this shimmer here kind of goes from like a pinky lavender to like a bluey green, and it's just so pretty. You've got more muted mattes here. I kind of feel like this side is your more mauvey and then this is your more neutral, so I kind of lean that way with it, and I think it's a very pretty little palette. Then we've got the taupes, and this is the palette I was talking about when I was talking about the Colourpop That's Taupe palette. This is also a taupe palette, but this just doesn't go as dark. Like this looks kind of dark, but it really just doesn't go that dark. Not enough for me anyway. I prefer something like the Colourpop one that has that really dark brown in it. but this gives us a nice few shimmers, some nice blending colors, but I would absolutely have to add something to this to deepen it up a little bit. Once I did that though, I think I'd love it even more because the shimmers in it are beautiful. Now on to our 9 pans here. This top one is probably my favorite 9 pan, I think. This is the Nomad palette. I've waited for this for so long. Not waited, like had to wait after ordering it. I just waited to get it for so long, and once I got it I was in love. Now I could do without this, as you've probably guessed. I don't like having this kind of colour in a palette because it's the same colour as my skin, and I don't use that even as a brow bone highlight or anything like that. 2 yellows I probably wouldn't necessarily need. I'd probably keep this one, which is a sequin shade. Not because it's a sequin shade, because it's a cooler toned yellow, and this is more of an orangey toned yellow. I can make this colour with the orange and this and kind of mix the two together and get something similar. And I probably would have put another shimmer in there, maybe change this one to a yellow shimmer, proper yellow shimmer, and change this to a green, like a deep green. Like I know this is kind of like a greeny brown, but more of this color in a shimmer down here as well. I think that would have been beautiful. But the looks I got out of this, especially with like this side here, all of this over here was beautiful. But this is the most perfect pumpkin orange as well, so I should really pull this out around kind of September, October next year, I think. I'm stacking my palettes over here, by the way, if you can still see them. I'm just running out of space right now. Next we've got the Zulu palette. It's probably my second favorite out of my 9 pans, and this was a Christmas present, I think, from my boyfriend. Pretty sure it was Christmas. And I love this palette. It's so bright. This is one of my favorite shimmery greens in a palette. I do wish this brown was a little bit darker, maybe a tiny bit cooler toned as well, just to have something a little bit deeper. But yeah, I love the shimmers that's in it. Like you've got this kind of pink to gold, you've got this gorgeous teal, maybe even change this to like a dark green to keep the brightness going, and maybe take the brown out altogether, and that way I can use it with this and that green. I probably would still pull in other shades with it, but I love this palette. I think it's so fun. I just like grabbing a colour out of it every now and again, and this purple as well is amazing. Then we've got the Deuce palette, which colour story wise I love the look of. I think it's so beautiful because it contrasts so well. You've got light shimmer, really dark matte, shades in between. I love this colour. This colour down here looks a bit like the kind of colour I don't like, but this I like, where it's deeper than my skin, it's a bit more grey than my skin, kind of gives you that sort of like neutral shadow kind of effect in the crease. Love that. Love the bright pinks. I wish this kind of comes out a little bit more paler than it actually looks in the pan. I wish it came out more true to colour. The shimmers I love in it though. This like random mint I think goes really well with it as well. But yeah, I love it, and I love this terracotta sort of shade down the bottom here. Then we've got the Festival, which is probably my least favourite out of these 9 pans, and it's a shame because this has been in my wish list for so long on Beauty Bay when Juvia's Place was on Beauty Bay, but I just find it very hard to use. I don't know what it is about it. I have gotten some really nice looks out of it, but I just feel like because this dark shade is a shimmer, it's hard to get use out of this because I usually just put shimmers on my lid. I don't know what it is, just this random blue, but I think maybe pair this with like say the Zulu palette. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's definitely a companion palette. I'd have to get more use of it as a companion. I'm probably not going to get rid of it because I love the formula. I love the shades that are in it. I just would have to use it with something else. Love the packaging, by the way. I love this. This is so beautiful. And then my first ever Juvia's Place palette, the Memories, and I love this palette. This is the Saharan 2. I love this. I would definitely like one more, maybe like get rid of this shade here, or this, no, not this one because that's beautiful. Get rid of this shade up here maybe, or even like this one, and maybe have a lighter peach. I think would work quite well, a peach like this shade in a matte maybe. This blue, so beautiful. I did a shade look called, I think it's called like Fire and Ice or Ice and Fire, something like that, on my channel ages ago. It's probably a really bad video, but if you want to see a cool look with that is such a cool look with it, so go check that out. I love this palette, this really dark kind of burgundy, although it does come out a little bit more pink than burgundy. I have such a special place in my heart for this because this got me really into Juvia's Place. Okay guys, so that was our palette collection part 1. This is all of our smaller palettes. I wanted to divide it up like this. I thought this was easier than just going by brands, because then I'd have a lot of one brand and not a lot of others, and just 1 or 2 of others. So I did it by size instead this time. I love my palettes. I will do a declutter, as I've said. I don't know when, but I will. I'm excited to do a declutter because I know there's things that I don't need anymore. So I cannot wait to do that. Once I have my second part of this done and uploaded, I will start my declutter series, start filming that. I don't know when it's going to start or when it's going to be uploaded, but it will start soon. I'm really happy with my collection so far. I think once I do my declutter, I'll be so happy with it then. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the big palettes look like all laid out so you guys can see everything that I have there. So that's everything from me from this angle. So let's get back to past Carla and see what she has to say. Alrighty guys, back to me. What do you think? I really like my I like my palette collection in general. I am going to be doing a declutter soon. So I've started filming it already. In fact, I'm going to be doing an intro of that first video today as well, so I'll still have this look on if you do find that. But I really like my collection. I like my palettes. I know what I have and I know what I like, and because I don't get a lot of in PR. I've only ever gotten one palette in PR, which you haven't seen in this video. You'll see it in the next one. I don't buy things I don't think I'm gonna like. Do you know that kind of way? So most of it, 98% of it I love. Do you know what I mean? So there's just a small percentage of it that are a bit iffy, that maybe I got, or maybe I got in advent calendars, or maybe I got here and there, that I just don't use anymore. So I will be doing a declutter soon. Palettes are probably going to be one of the last things. So that might take a while. So don't be thinking it's coming soon. It might not be, because we're starting with lipsticks first for the declutter. But for this video, I want you guys to tell me down below what palette from this video was your favorite. Or what ones do you have? Give me a list of what you have that are the same as mine, so we have a matching collection. But it's just a nice way for you to see what's in my collection, to see everything, to see what I have done videos on, maybe what I haven't done videos on, what's coming up, what's not coming up, all those kinds of things. And yeah, it's going to be a fun time. So let me know that down in the comments below. If you did like this video, give me a big thumbs up down below. It's the quickest, simplest and easiest way to give me a little bit of support, get me around to more people, and also let me know that you liked the video, and I will continue to do many more. And don't forget to subscribe down below to see my declutter series coming up, to see the bigger palettes coming up as well. And also many more tutorials, and a lot of the palettes that I maybe haven't used that are in this video, that will be coming up this year as well. And as I said in the beginning, my Instagram is linked down below, where I'll be posting all my pictures and loads more content, hopefully, of all my looks. And yeah, go give that a follow down below. So I think that's everything from me, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye.